The crown prince is selecting a consort, the prime minister said. My daughter is skilled in music, chess, calligraphy, and painting, the virtuous prince said. My daughter is skilled in wielding swords and spears. When it was my father's turn, he flushed red but couldn't think of any talent I possessed. My daughter is quite the spendthrift. The emperor's eyes lit up. The crown prince is frugal. They would be a perfect match. Oh ho, the crown prince's days of ease are over. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now, the story begins. My family is very poor. My father is a majestic and awe-inspiring general. On ordinary days, he not only suppresses rebel forces and captures traitors with his own hands, but also massages the emperor's shoulders, flatters him, and even takes over the duties of the imperial concubine. At night, he works a side job as a butcher at a small shop on the street corner, for every pig killed. You earn half a tael of silver, yet no matter how hard he tried, the family could never save any money. I often clung to my father's leg and cried, "Dad, Dad, it's so cold, why aren't you wearing long johns?" My father wanted to slam the table and stand up. My father wanted to slam the table and stand up. My father merely thought about it. He guarded the last table in the house as if it were a treasure, his brows furrowed in anger. How dare you even ask? You've squandered all the money I saved to mend my long johns. I lost my mother right after I was born. My father was determined to mold me into a woman of great talent and learning, just like my mother. When I said I wanted to study medicine, he spent a fortune to hire a physician from the Imperial hospital to teach me. When I said I wanted to learn the qin, he had the finest instrument custom-made for me in a dedicated music room. When I said I wanted to learn equestrian skills, he built me an entire stable of horses. At just 10 years old, I stood by my father's side, watching him, with his sleeves fluttering, spend money like water. I couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Spending money is truly exhilarating. Later, I learned nothing. Instead, I learned how to spend money. Years passed by. My family moved from the bustling city center to the dilapidated west side of the city. My father's high hopes for me shifted from son, "You must become a pillar of the nation," to son, "You must live well." Finally, on his birthday, I presented a painting of 100 birds paying homage to the phoenix. It amazed everyone present. My father was overjoyed. I never knew my daughter had such talent. It must be her mother's spirit in heaven, blessing her with inspiration. I was also delighted. "Father, as long as it makes you happy, I can produce 8 or 10 pieces in a single night." My father was utterly astonished. I never thought our old Chen family could produce such a talent. In his delight, he burned the painting, saying he wanted my mother to see it too. What he didn't expect was, this painting was one I had bought on credit from the world's #1 painting gallery. The next day, his hands trembled as he paid off my debts on my behalf. My father, having spent half his life on the battlefield, had originally intended to retire to a life of seclusion in the mountains, but now, he had no choice but to return to the imperial court, to attend the banquet held by the emperor to select a consort for the crown prince. I heard that every candidate participating in the imperial consort selection banquet would receive a subsidy of 10 taels of silver from the court. My father originally intended to get his hands on those 10 taels of silver. In the end, my portrait, along with those of Xianxia, the daughter of the prime minister, and Pang Yu, the daughter of the virtuous prince, stood out from the rest and became the top 3. The emperor pondered for a long time and said that the crown princess must be a suitable match for the crown prince. The entire court knows that Crown Prince Xianxia is exceptionally handsome and talented in both literary and martial arts, composing poetry at 8 and leading troops at 15. With unparalleled talent, he is truly the ideal choice for a son-in-law. Both the prime minister and the virtuous prince, who were once my father's love rivals, now stand tall with pride. Back then, Jianyang chose you, we lost. But now, I wonder what you still have to compete with us. My father bristled with anger. My father could only glare in frustration. The prime minister smiled arrogantly, bowed to the emperor, and spoke eloquently. My daughter Xianxia has been fond of tranquility since childhood, skilled in music, chess, calligraphy, and painting. Her music can attract butterflies to dance, and her paintings have been collected by the #1 painting pavilion in the world. The virtuous king was not to be outdone, stepping forward and saying, "My daughter Pang Yu, now 17, has been lively since childhood, fond of wielding swords and spears. She once single-handedly captured the head of a criminal who had been on the run for 10 years. My father hid in the back, afraid of being called upon." The emperor turned his head and spotted him shrinking in the corner. "How is Minister Chen's daughter?" My father has weathered many storms in his life. With a rival by his side, he didn't want to lose face no matter what, but even after flushing crimson with effort, he couldn't think of any particular talent I possessed, and could only lower his head to mutter a few words. My daughter is only good at squandering the family fortune. The surroundings were utterly silent. My father just wanted to take the 10 taels of silver and leave. There are still 5 pigs to slaughter at the old lady's house on West Street. If we're late, someone else will take the business. The emperor's eyes lit up, and he made a startling remark. The crown prince is frugal, and he is quite a good match for your daughter. The prime minister was dumbfounded. The virtuous prince was stunned. My father was also frightened. Oh ho, the crown prince's good days are over. As soon as the imperial decree was issued, I became the designated crown princess. When the news arrived, I was cracking melon seeds in the tavern. Seated at the table was a man in white robes with refined and handsome features. Sueju rushed over anxiously. Miss, you've been chosen to be the crown prince's consort. The man in white paused his fingers, his gaze instantly falling upon my face. I was watching the opera troupe performing on the stage. Fly, what flew away? Sueju ran so fast she was out of breath. Tai, Fei, Tai. I didn't pay it much mind. What? A low voice came from the man in white beside me. The crown princess. Oh. I remained silent for a long moment. I almost jumped onto the table. Who is the crown prince? As soon as these words were spoken, the stern-faced guard beside the man in white stepped forward first, as if I had committed a grave crime. You actually don't know who the crown prince is? I really have no idea. After all, the emperor is as solid as iron, while the crown prince flows like water. The shop deals in a variety of businesses and usually sells portraits of men as well. I stopped a passing waiter and asked how much a portrait of the crown prince would cost. The portraits of the crown prince have all been snatched up, only the last one remains. The shop assistant opened his mouth and demanded 10 taels of silver. 10 taels of silver, you might as well go rob someone. I'm hesitating. The folding fan lightly tapped on the table. The man in white, who had remained motionless, pursed his thin lips and said, I have a cheaper option, only 1 tael. I was still hesitating. This made me decide immediately, and I directly paid the shop assistant. They say cheap things are no good. What the shop assistant was selling must be genuine paintings. After the woman's figure disappeared into the distance, the guard stood with arms crossed, frowning deeply. Master, I've heard that Miss Chen spends money quite lavishly. Xiao Junyao rubbed the jade thumb ring on his finger, his expression composed. Seeing once is better than hearing 100 times, especially since I have been observing her for half a month. Every day she orders herbal tea with melon seeds and steamed buns, clearly a woman accustomed to frugality. Rumors cannot be fully trusted. Someone must have deliberately spread these rumors to sabotage this selection of consorts. My judgment has never been wrong. I can rest assured in trusting the dowry I have saved for 20 years to her. The guard recalled the earlier situation and hesitated a bit. Then why didn't she choose a cheaper portrait to buy? Xiao Juanyao's ears suddenly felt a bit warm. A woman who was accustomed to frugality and reluctant to spend on food and clothing was willing to pay a high price for his portrait. That must be. I've admired him for a long time. My father has been acting very strange lately. He often sighs for no reason, sometimes seems absent-minded, and even his butchering strokes have gone off target. After a few stabs, the pig wasn't dead yet and kept howling for nearly half an hour. My father repeatedly apologized, and only then did it let out a final grunt and breathed its last. The last time something like this happened was right after my mother passed away. I didn't understand what was going on. Lying on the bed with my legs crossed, looking at the portrait of the crown prince, Sueju was not only the housekeeper, cook, and guard of the estate, she was also my most intimate sister. Miss, the general just can't bear to part with you. My father lost his parents at a young age, lost his wife in middle age, and was about to be separated from his daughter, who had been his sole companion. An image of a lonely old man waiting by the door came to mind. My father was gone. How could I go on living? My eyes instantly welled up with tears, and I rushed into the yard to find my father. My father slumped in the bamboo chair, his face full of drunkenness, his clothes somewhat disheveled. The words "my daughter won't marry" were just about to escape my lips. My father suddenly wiped the corner of his eye, looking troubled. My daughter, you must treat the crown prince well. The crown prince is the future ruler of the nation. If anything were to happen to him, how could I ever face the common people? So my father was worried about the crown prince. That's fine then. Thinking of the portrait from earlier, I couldn't hold back my tears either. My father quickly tried to comfort me. Dad is fine. I can take care of myself. I know you can't bear to part. We each cried our own tears. Dad, the crown prince is so ugly. No wonder I got to be the crown princess. Although the crown prince's appearance doesn't meet my aesthetic standards, since I'm here, I might as well make the best of it. With the wedding approaching, I naturally need to build some rapport with him first. I heard that Xianxia rarely goes out, doesn't indulge in wine or women, and only enjoys books. I asked the bookseller to bring me a stack of books. The bookseller asked me what kind of books I wanted. I scratched the back of my head, my cheeks flushed from the sun. It's for my husband. So we can read and study together. The bookseller's gaze gradually turned suggestive. I carried a stack of wrapped books and arrived at the crown prince's residence, but the guards at the gate didn't recognize me, so I found a secluded spot and climbed over the wall to get in. It wasn't that I particularly wanted to see the crown prince, I just felt like climbing a wall, and it was the wall of the crown prince's residence. Just landed, not far away, under a willow tree. A man was lounging lazily in a reclining chair, teasing the fish in the pond. The man had features as exquisite as a painting, his attire neat and tidy, embodying the image of an elegant gentleman. He looked up and glanced over in that moment. I raised my chin and introduced myself. I am the future crown princess. The man's voice was deep, I know. I stared for a long time before realizing he was the man in white who had been cracking melon seeds with me at the tavern for half a month. So he was also working at the crown prince's residence. My legs were a bit sore, so I knocked on the recliner. Get up and let me lie down for a while. The man seemed slightly puzzled. Do you have any idea who I am? I fanned myself with my sleeve and said nonchalantly, given our current status, shouldn't you be listening to me properly? After a moment of silence, the man gracefully rose to his feet. The crown princess speaks wisely, I warned him fiercely again. Don't you dare tell anyone what happened today, or you'll be sorry. I fell asleep while lying there. At some point, I ended up hugging something and rubbing against it. I only knew that in the half-awake state, someone loudly shouted, "Crown Prince, the Crown Prince has arrived." I wiped the drool and immediately stood up, but I found there were only 3 people in the entire courtyard. The one who called out was not the Crown Prince, and the man in white was not the Crown Prince either. That left only me. My neck was a bit sore, and I stiffly turned to the man who was still fanning me with a palm leaf fan. "Are you the Crown Prince?" I still found it hard to believe. "Have you always been the Crown Prince?" The Crown Prince glanced down at me, as if saying I'm being quite impolite. "Crown Princess, how much longer do you want me to keep slapping you?" With a sharp slap, I almost flipped the table in anger. Damn that shop assistant, he actually sold me a fake painting. That was my last bit of savings. The Crown Prince, however, raised an eyebrow and smiled inexplicably tenderly. "Why is the Crown Princess's face so red?" "Nonsense." Waves of anger surged upward. How could it not be red? I was in a hurry to settle the score with the waiter, so I put the book on the table and ran off, lifting my skirts. I only heard someone behind me whisper softly, "Master, why is the Crown Princess leaving in such a hurry?" And the Crown Prince's voice was calm. She walks away shyly, leaning against the door and looking back, pretending to smell the green plums. I don't understand. I had just run to the door and instinctively glanced back. The Crown Prince laughed again. My family was so poor we couldn't even afford to buy pork. After giving Tsueju her monthly allowance, I unconsciously called out, "Dad." My dad clutched his little money pouch tightly. "What did you call me for? Go find the Crown Prince." That makes sense. When I hurried to the Crown Prince's residence, I found a crowd of people chatting at the entrance. The Prime Minister stroked his beard. "I came here to discuss the flood in Minzhou with the Crown Prince." The Grand Tutor nodded. "I am here regarding the matter of rebuilding the Women's Academy." The Deputy Chief of the Court of Judicial Review cupped his hands and said, "The Huai Prefecture corruption case involves many officials and requires the Crown Prince's decision." Several pairs of eyes fell upon me. I'm just here for a free meal," but I was too embarrassed to say it. I pursed my lips and said seriously, "I'm here to study with the Crown Prince." Yes, at this critical moment, I remembered the stack of books I had given to the Crown Prince. Xiao Junyao had just walked over. I tugged at his sleeve and said, "Quick, tell everyone what books I gave you last time." His jade-like face cracked for a moment. "Do you really want me to say it in front of everyone? We are proper scholars. What is there that cannot be said?" I blinked my eyes, feeling a bit anxious. "Right, hurry up and tell us." The Prime Minister and his group perked up their ears, also very interested. But Xiao Junyao pushed me into the adjacent room, his palm feeling warm. "Stop messing around. I'll come to keep you company once I'm done with my work." I didn't understand why, but waved my hand from behind. "Then you must remember to come back and read with me." Xiao Junyao, who had already walked some distance away, suddenly stumbled. Xiao Junyao suddenly lost interest in reading. I asked him why. He flicked his sleeve dismissively. All these books are mediocre, I have long since mastered them thoroughly. I didn't believe it. Is that so? Then recite it for me to hear. The wind rustled through the leaves, stirring up a soft, whispering sound. Xiao Juanyao's pitch-black eyes stared directly at me. Miss Chen, he strained his voice, deliberately lowering it. You seem to particularly enjoy coming to the Crown Prince's residence. Why is that? This is bad. He discovered that I was here to mooch a meal. Actually, it's not easy to get a free meal at the Crown Prince's residence, because each time only makes enough for the Crown Prince and me, but I happen to be able to eat for two. How much the Crown Prince can eat depends on how much I leave for him. I feel a bit flustered. I can't control my volume when I panic, because I'm hungry, of course. Xiao Junyao seemed to think of something, his breathing growing somewhat rapid. In that book you gave me, there was also a woman who said she was hungry. And then, he interrupted my train of thought. Just what? He remained silent. I furrowed my brows. Finish your sentence. Will you? He swallowed and inexplicably asked. Do you like it? What do you like? If you're hungry, don't you need to eat? Though puzzled, I nodded firmly. I like it. The Crown Prince's breathing grew more rapid. With just the words "it's against propriety." I was driven out of the Crown Prince's residence. The Crown Prince's residence was surrounded by spies. Thus, the rumor of discord between the Crown Prince and his future Crown Princess reached the Empress Dowager's ears. The Prime Minister has a close relationship with the Empress Dowager. Every time court is dismissed, he goes straight to her palace to whisper about my father and me. On top of that, the Imperial Consort, having nothing better to do, has been whispering in the Empress Dowager's ear. So on this day, the Empress Dowager finally issued an order, summoning me to the palace. I hadn't even had a chance to pay my respects to the Empress Dowager. The Crown Prince began to argue with the Empress Dowager. The Empress Dowager twisted the prayer beads in her hand. I'm doing this for your own good. Chen Ruoxua is not even half as clever as you are. How could she manage the Imperial Harem in the future? Your father acted rashly. But I must still consider the future of our Xiao family's empire. Yua, who was serving tea to the Empress Dowager, was none other than Pang Yu. A sharpness flickered in her eyes. While your feelings for each other are not yet deep, I can just, Xiao Junyao said. Your Majesty is mistaken. I believe Ruoxua clearly has deep feelings for me. If I were to break faith and abandon righteousness, how could I gain the trust of others in the future? The Empress Dowager shook her head. You are still too young. Then let me show you what kind of wisdom truly befits a crown princess. The Empress Dowager ordered 50 items to be brought, and gave Pang Yu and me the time it takes for one incense stick to burn to deduce which of the items had once been used by the Crown Prince: a purple gold crown, a jadeite pendant, a jade hairpiece, a chrysanthemum patterned ear vase, a glazed incense burner, a dazzling array, each one different. And each of us could ask the Crown Prince 3 questions, to which he could only answer yes or no. The palace maids were all waiting to see a joke. Everyone knows that Miss Pang is famously clever. She even caught a criminal who had been on the run for years. Finding something the Crown Prince used would be as easy as turning her hand. Miss Chen, on the other hand, is completely uneducated. Right now, her mind must be a total blank. She might as well try her luck and pick any 3 items at random. Her Majesty the Empress Dowager is deliberately setting Miss Chen up for humiliation. Pang Yu and I each wrote down 3 questions. I don't know what Pang Yu wrote, but the corner of her mouth lifted into a confident smile. She modestly said, "You guess first." The onlookers were busy lighting incense and sweeping the floor. Even Xiao Junyao didn't believe I could figure it out. I glanced at the paper that had been passed back to me. I said with certainty, "It's that jade pendant." The Empress Dowager cast a cold glance. "Junna, how could you show favoritism?" She firmly believed that Xiao Junyao had written the answer on the paper, but when the blank paper was turned over, there were only a few black characters on it. "Can you tell me the answer with your heart?" Yes, that was the only question. The Empress Dowager paused, then suddenly turned to look at me. "Could it be that you really are?" Pang Yu had originally been waiting to make a stunning entrance, but now she was completely frozen. Impossible, impossible. It must be that she has seen him by the Crown Prince's side before. The Empress Dowager sighed. This was the birthday gift Junna gave to his father when he was 13. He searched all over the capital to choose it, and his father couldn't bear to wear it. Never mind, it is I who have grown old. The Empress Dowager beckoned me over, patted my hand, and spoke very kindly. "Can you tell me why you were able to choose correctly?" The Empress Dowager had also been tested by the previous Empress Dowager back in the day, but she hadn't chosen correctly at the time. and it had weighed on her mind all these years. As for why I chose correctly, it was something I had sold when I was 13 years old. I got beaten up by my dad. How could I not remember it vividly? That year, I covered my face and went to the small shop at the street corner, sold a lot of things from home, and was repeatedly haggled down by the buyer. Until a few days ago, when I saw some familiar items at the Crown Prince's residence. Only then did I realize, for so many years, the one who has been buying my things has always been the Crown Prince. I naturally couldn't say that this jade pendant was something I had once worn. I had no choice but to make up something on the spot. Actually, there's nothing particularly special about it. It's just that this jade pendant gives me the same feeling as the Crown Prince does. The Empress Dowager understood. So that's how it is. Me, Her Majesty the Empress Dowager. What exactly do you understand? Xiao Junyao took off his cloak and draped it over my shoulders, raising the corner of his eye. The Crown Princess truly shares a deep connection with me. I curled my lips and smiled politely. The sky had already darkened. The Empress Dowager arranged 2 rooms for me and the Crown Prince to stay in the palace. The meals in the palace were far superior to those in the Crown Prince's residence and my own home. I was so immersed in the experience that I forgot about my sleepwalking condition before going to bed. In the past, I always shared a room with Tsueju, who would hold me to keep me from moving. The night grew late. I feel uneasy all over. I got up, pushed open Xiao Junyao's door, and moved toward the bed. I don't know what happened. When I woke up, Xiao Junyao was sleeping right beside me. His thick eyelashes motionless, his handsome features quite captivating. Our skin was touching, and a scorching heat kept transmitting between us. I was stunned for a moment. I kicked Xiao Junyao off the bed with one foot. My cheeks flushed red, and I stammered incoherently. Pervert. Xiao Junyao woke up. He untied his pure white undergarment, revealing several red marks. Would the Crown Princess like to see who the real rogue is? I immediately covered my eyes tightly. I won't look. Then secretly peeked through a tiny gap. Xiao Junyao seems to have a pretty good figure. No wonder he's a man who frequents the military camp all year round. The auntie who sells tofu once told me, a man's physique is a woman's nourishment. From this perspective, the Crown Prince will surely take good care of me. I blushed. Xiao Junyao, however, frowned and leaned closer to me. What are you thinking about? You don't remember what happened last night? My eyes darted around before I realized this was his room. So I had another sleepwalking episode last night and accidentally offended him. The Crown Prince's life is priceless, far beyond what I could ever repay. I flatly denied it. I don't remember anything. Unexpectedly, Xiao Junyao refused to let it go. You really don't remember? Then you should be sober now. My body still carries your warmth. Tell me, how are you going to make it up to me? I was getting annoyed by all the nagging. He lifted the blanket. She pressed her palm against his chest, speaking with righteous conviction. I touched you. So what? Between an engaged couple, how can it be called acting like a rogue? Xiao Junyao was probably frightened by me, taking advantage of his dazed moment. I lifted my skirt and ran. My hands were trembling terribly. Qin Shuyang, the daughter of the Prime Minister, had been waiting for me at my doorstep. My door is always open. Yet not even a thief would visit my home. However, Qin Shuyang always adhered to etiquette and would never enter casually without the host's permission. She wore a water blue long dress with a white veil over her face, appearing very gentle and lovely. She also spoke in a soft and gentle voice. I felt a strong connection with Sister Ruoshua when we briefly met at the palace banquet last time. How about we go boating and shopping together? Tsueju quietly leaned close to my ear. Miss, I'm afraid there might be a trap. I was completely bewildered by Qin Shuyang calling me little sister over and over. You should know that at home, my father always calls me a scoundrel. What could I possibly be scheming? A gust of wind blew. The plaque above my family's gate was on the verge of falling. Kuiju was silent for a moment. That makes sense. Shopping costs money. I've already promised my father that I would turn over a new leaf. Qin Shuyang pointed to the most famous pastries at Tianxiang Tower. Shall we buy some? My father said these things are all traps for rich people. I have a craving, but shook my head. Passing by a clothing shop, Qin Shuyang asked, It's getting cold, little sister, would you like to get some new clothes? I looked on with eager eyes. I shook my head. Passing by the rouge shop, Qin Shuyang asked, Girls should always use some rouge. Why don't you buy some, sister? I touched my face, which was free of makeup, and shook my head. Qin Shuyang probably noticed that I was somewhat poor. Little sister came out shopping, but isn't buying anything. She instructed her maid, everything Miss Chen has glanced at, wrap them all up. If I remember correctly, I've seen everything on this street. Wait. Qin Shuyang reassured me. Don't worry, you don't have to pay. Can such a good thing really happen? Good. I didn't even have time to rejoice. The corners of her lips lifted. When the fiancé buys something, it's only natural for the fiancé to pay. Put it all on the Crown Prince's tab. My mouth instantly formed an O shape. Now I understand. Qin Shuyang didn't hit it off with me, she hit it off with me in hatred. I kicked over the little boat of our friendship. Qin Shuyang, we have no enmity between us. Why do you want to harm me? Beneath the veil, her pale cheeks were as cold as ice. Do you know how long I spent painting that piece? Suddenly, I remembered. The painting I had on credit from the world's premier painting pavilion some time ago. 10 years, her eyes were moist. For 10 whole years, I've been dreaming day and night of making a name for myself, and it was only with great difficulty that I managed to get this painting into the world's premier painting pavilion. You ended up burning everything to ashes with that fire. It wasn't me, it was my father who set the fire. But my father gave birth to me. I bought the painting on credit. My father was angry because I burned the painting. I stammered for a long time, then lowered my head and skillfully admitted my mistake. I'm sorry, it's all my fault. Whatever you want, I'll buy it. Qin Shuyang had originally intended to watch me try to talk my way out of it. She didn't expect me to admit my guilt so quickly. Leaving her momentarily speechless, she averted her eyes. What's the use of apologizing? Keep your apologies for the Crown Prince who strictly forbids extravagance. Me, in the Imperial garden, the Emperor was fishing with the Crown Prince. The Emperor glanced down and remarked, if I recall correctly, my son, you've been using this fishing rod for almost 8 years now. The Crown Prince said indifferently, the rod doesn't have to be new, but you still need a fishhook, right? This child of ours has always been like this since he was little. The Emperor shook his head and said, if you keep acting like this, you won't win the Crown Princess's favor. The Crown Prince's expression was indifferent. Your Majesty need not worry, the Crown Princess and I are kindred spirits. The Emperor's expression was inscrutable. A guard rushed in. Your Highness, something terrible has happened, the eunuch asked. What is the matter that has caused such panic? You have disturbed His Majesty's presence, the guard replied. Miss Chen Ruoxua and Miss Qin Shuyang are out shopping and said to charge it to the Crown Prince's account. 2 women, how much could they possibly spend? The Crown Prince said indifferently, if she wants to buy something, let her buy it, so she claimed. But, the guard said indignantly, but she spent 10 years of your salary. The Crown Prince said indifferently, the Crown Prince cannot remain indifferent. When Xiao Junyao first arrived at my home, I was kneeling before my mother's memorial tablet in repentance. On the table lay more than a dozen property deeds sent by the boss, and the courtyard was filled with all sorts of exquisite and valuable items. My father stood with his hands behind his back, angrily scolding, you lost your mother at a young age, and those boys in the alley always bullied you. When you were 3, they buried you in the snow. Later, when you grew up, you beat every one of them up. I don't blame you for that. Is my father going senile? I beat up those guys clearly because they stole the cricket I was raising. Dad, my father doesn't allow me to speak. Father doesn't have much money and hasn't given you a good life. When you were young, you wore other people's old clothes and ate leftovers from others' bowls, but even so, you still grew up safely. What is my father talking about? I grew up in luxury and comfort. Did he forget that it was I who squandered my family's fortune? Dad. My father glared at me. Shut up. Father knows you've always envied others for their new clothes and fine delicacies since you were young, but even so, you shouldn't waste the Crown Prince's money like this. Whatever you want, just tell your father. Even if I have to slaughter every pig in the world, I will surely buy it for you. My father picked up a whip, tears streaming down his aged face. Today, in your mother's presence, I will teach you one more lesson. I hadn't even opened my mouth yet. Cueju knelt down first. Master, please have mercy on the young lady. She is frail and cannot endure such a beating. I was stunned. Cueju threw herself onto me. My poor young lady. Something got into my eyes, stinging a little. My eyes were red. I wanted to say, these things, I can return them all. But suddenly, a familiar voice came from behind. General Chen. It was Xiao Junyao who had arrived. He looked down at me, his eyes filled with pity. Everything was my idea. It has nothing to do with Ruoxua, me, her. My father and Xiao Junyao had a heartfelt conversation in the humble room. My father asked, does the Crown Prince not blame Ruoxua for such extravagant behavior? There was only one stool in the room. Xiao Junyao had no choice but to stand. I have been busy with the corruption case and have indeed neglected to spend time with her recently. I can understand why she acted this way. My father then asked, What if this is her true nature? Xiao Junyao was still lost in thought about my tragic background. He said, even if it is, I'll accept it. Suizhu, who had been eavesdropping by the wall, quickly returned and recounted the entire process to me. I cried all night while hugging my pillow. How could my father say so many bad things about me? The next day, Xiao Junyao came to see me. My eyes were still swollen. He also looked somewhat haggard. I knew it was because I had spent all his money. Perhaps he went to the west of the city to slaughter pigs last night, just like my father. After all, before he left, he asked my father, how much can a general earn from slaughtering a pig? What a disgrace for the crown prince to behave like this. I planned to return these land deeds to Xiao Junyao. My hand had just reached out. When it was grasped by him, a warm, moist kiss suddenly landed between my brows. Crown Princess, rest assured, I will never let you return to the life you once lived. Xiao Juanyao's sharp jawline was right before my eyes. He is truly handsome. My heart was pounding incessantly. My breath hitched for a moment. This is bad. What was I going to say again? Somehow, I ended up becoming the owner of several shops. Even Tianxiang Lu has a share in my name. The main owner of Tianxiang Lu is the wealthiest man in Jiangnan. Upon returning to the capital, he specially prepared a welcome banquet for me, following the life principle of never turning down a free meal. I went there very happily, but I never expected that while I went there to eat, the other party came to recognize a relative, a handsome-looking man with tears in his eyes. So it's you after all. I was completely baffled. Who is this? Zhong Chisong puffed out his cheeks. It's me, Erguzi. In the past, I would have said I knew many people like Erguzi, but lately, I've learned the ways of the world from the ladies in the palace. It's you. It's been a long time. Zhong Chisong made a shocking statement. Then now, are you still willing to marry me? You said when you were little that you wanted to marry the richest person. I suddenly choked. I'm already betrothed. Is that so? Zhong Chisong sounded a bit dejected. What if I could be your secret lover? I choked back tears. I wouldn't mind that at all. I'm afraid the crown prince might have an opinion. Indeed, he had barely finished speaking. Someone kicked the door open. Xiao Junyao, clad in black robes, pointed his sword at Zhong Chisong. What did you just say? Zhong Chisong had long abandoned any thought of becoming a mistress. He was scared out of his wits. Xiao Junyao had originally come to the area to handle some business. The corruption case in Huizhou involved many officials. I never expected to run into me here. The guard said indignantly, Miss Chen, how could you come to eat with an unrelated man? I was also very embarrassed. I'm used to freeloading meals. I forgot I have a status now. The fault isn't hers. Xiao Junyao thought for a moment and asked, when you were little, did you really want to marry the richest man? Nonsense. Who wouldn't want to marry the richest man? I shook my head and said, I don't. Xiao Juanyao's eyes lifted at the corners, his mood inexplicably improving a little. You don't have to flatter me. It is my fault. I should have worked harder, I thought. Perhaps because Xiao Junyao has been interacting frequently with my father recently, he was infected by my father, a deserted alley. I hooked my finger with his. I'll have dinner with you tonight. The evening meal at the Crown Prince's residence was quite simple. One dish of stir-fried cabbage with meat, and one dish of boiled cabbage, the cook who bought the vegetables explained. It's because the Crown Prince loves eating cabbage very much, I thought. He loves cabbage so much. Perhaps it's because he hasn't tried other dishes. After the cook left, I instructed the head chef, I'll make braised pork and lion's head meatballs tonight. The chef said he had only ever made stir-fried cabbage with pork and boiled cabbage, so I asked Suizhu to stay. The dishes were served. Xiao Junyao took a sip and frowned slightly, before he could speak. The cook who had bought the groceries today jumped out. Scoundrel, you're done for. The dish contains a colorless, odorless deadly poison that activates upon contact with water. You won't survive. She was captured right in the courtroom, appearing somewhat deranged. Chef Wang had been working in the mansion for 8 years. Back then, she came to the capital searching for relatives, but was abandoned by her son who had just topped the Imperial examinations. She was about to drown herself in the river when she was saved by Xiao Junyao who happened to pass by. He should have been someone I could trust. Xiao Junyao asked. Why? The cook, Madame Wang, had tears in the corners of her eyes. The person you executed yesterday was my only son. Even if he embezzled some disaster relief funds, his crime did not warrant death. I didn't even get to see him one last time. The guard pinned her to the ground. Hand over the antidote. There is no antidote. In half an hour, the poison will take effect, and he will suffer unbearably, wishing for death but unable to die. There was no antidote. I threw myself onto the crown prince, wailing as if the sky were falling. "Your Highness, please don't die," she cried while asking. I clearly replaced the cabbage with braised pork and lion's head meatballs. I used premium pork from Xianxia Tower and mountain spring water for the meat and water. The dish was personally prepared by our Tsueju. Which step went wrong? The mad state of Chef Wang suddenly stopped. The corner of her lips twitched. "You didn't eat the cabbage." Silence fell for a moment. "So you put the poison in the cabbage." The cook, Wang, closed her eyes. "It is the will of heaven. Why did it have to be today?" As soon as she closed her eyes, she passed away. The guard stepped forward to report. "Your Highness, she took poison in advance." Xiao Junyao slowly let out a breath. "Take her away," he whispered again. "Crown Princess, you're hurting me." The imperial physician soon arrived at the Crown Prince's residence. After taking Xiao Junyao's pulse, he said the Crown Prince was in good health. Xiao Junyao wiped away the tears at the corner of my eye. "Don't be afraid, from now on, I will taste every dish first." I was deeply moved. Yet I also felt it wasn't quite right. If my father finds out, he'll scold me again. He told me to treat the Crown Prince well. I declined again. "No, I should eat first." Xiao Junyao said, "I'll go first." "Why are you fighting over this?" I didn't back down. "Of course I should go first. I'll go first. I'll go first." Just as we were about to start arguing, the eunuch who often followed by Xiao Junyao's side suddenly interjected, "Better let this servant eat first." After the corruption case was concluded, soon after, the grand wedding between me and Xiao Junyao arrived. Xiao Junyao requested a reward from the emperor. In the name of the Crown Princess's benevolence, to distribute grain to the impoverished people. Thus, on the day of the wedding, the streets were bustling with crowds, leaving the city almost empty. Some held bouquets of flowers, while others beamed with joy. The wedding procession, grand and bustling, made its way into the Crown Prince's residence. The master of ceremonies raised his voice and announced, "First bow to heaven and earth, second bow to the parents. Bride and groom bow to each other. The ceremony is complete. Escort the couple to the bridal chamber." The red veil covered my eyes. I couldn't see the path ahead. Only Xiao Junyao held my hand, steadily leading the way forward. As soon as I entered the room, I lifted the bridal veil. "It's so hot." Xiao Junyao's gaze seemed a bit off. Like a wolf, I asked, "What's wrong with you?" He stood tall and graceful in his groom's attire, with strikingly handsome features. He lowered his gaze and said, "It's nothing. I just suddenly remembered those books you once gave me." Books, the wedding night. Who wants to bring up books with him? But the dim candlelight illuminated his jade-like features. Suddenly, I felt a belated sense of shyness. "Your Highness, perhaps we should read for a while first." The book was taken out from under the pillow by Xiao Junyao. I couldn't help but chuckle. "Let me see what good stuff this is. The Crown Prince actually carries this with him even in bed." I took it and flipped through a few pages. Soon, I couldn't laugh anymore. Xiao Junyao untied my sash. "Crown Princess, I have come to respond to that 'I like you' once said." "What exactly did I say back then?" Raindrops beat against the banana leaves, red candles dripped wax, the shadows on the wall entwined, parted, then tangled again. At the peak of passion, he said, "My heart belongs to the Crown Princess." I was panting heavily, my voice trembling. "I also like the Crown Prince." The Emperor and General Chen were drinking tea in the hall. The Emperor had been waiting for the Crown Prince, but the Crown Prince never came. He could guess what had happened at once. After all, he and the Empress had been the same back then. The Emperor cursed under his breath, "You scoundrel." General Chen is in an uncommonly good mood today. Seeing his daughter in her red wedding attire, he suddenly recalled his wife who had passed away many years ago. It's been 18 years already. The Emperor remained silent for a long time. "Minister Chen, it is I who have wronged you." General Chen took a sip of wine and shook his head. "Your Majesty, why say such words? Even if given another chance, I would still make the same decision." 18 years ago, rebel forces stormed the imperial capital. One part stormed the imperial palace, while the other entered the Chen residence, and Lady Chen was on the verge of giving birth. When the news arrived, Chen Zhendong still ordered his men to defend the imperial city, only dispatching a small force to rescue his wife. The emperor was safe and sound. Chen Zhendong returned to his residence, only to find corpses strewn across the ground. Madame Chen lay on the floor. She was already dead. Chen Zhendong couldn't stop retching. His body trembling uncontrollably, he picked up the sword, prepared to go along with them. Just then, the cry of a baby was heard. It was the daughter his wife had desperately protected. All these years, he had always tried his best to be good to his daughter, as if by doing so, he could make up for some of the debt he owed his wife. 18 years ago, he had not done anything wrong, yet every time he thought of it, he would cut a mark on his arm after the wedding. Although Xiao Junyao doted on me very much, there were still many flirtatious women trying to get close to him. Cuozhu said, "Crown Princess, you should do something about it. I was busy shopping and listening to music with a few Imperial sisters, and I picked up the bad habits from my childhood again." And Xiao Junyao was busy, making money. Occasionally, when he ran into my father, he would complain with great grievance, "Father-in-law, you never told me the Crown Princess could spend so much." My father was also at a loss. "You never asked. Several princesses have already taken consorts and have them completely under their control. Training a man is just like training a dog. Once you grasp his weak spot, he'll obey your every word." Exactly. Some people will just take advantage of your kindness and walk all over you. "Sister-in-law, trust us, we know what's best." The aunt who had come from afar also advised me. "Only by seizing control of the finances can you become the sole authority in the household. You must do this and that." My head is spinning from all this. Actually, there's no need to go through all this trouble. Wait until Xiao Junyao returns after collecting his salary. Give it to me. Xiao Junyao fell silent. "Crown Princess, you have become increasingly what? Increasingly beautiful." The Crown Prince was completely devoted to me, which naturally displeased the Empress. As the Crown Prince, he should not be exclusively devoted to one person. She sent several stunningly beautiful women to the Crown Prince's residence. First, if the Crown Prince took a liking to her, it would perfectly align with her intentions. Second, if the Crown Prince didn't fancy her, it would stir up conflict between us. As long as I made a scene unreasonably, the Crown Prince might change his mind someday. Unexpectedly, I wasn't the least bit displeased. In fact, I was quite delighted. Great, so Xiao Junyao can support all of us. Xiao Junyao, who happened to return just then, looked a bit pale. He rarely lost his temper. "You seem quite happy. Do you not care about my well-being at all?" Several beauties were sent back that very night. "Does Mother Empress think I am not tired enough?" The Empress still wanted to say something. Xiao Junyao once again placed someone into the Emperor's harem. This time, the Empress had nothing more to say.